I thought I was dead. I did not think that I was coming back to experience Mandy again. That concept of her even existing was completely gone.
Exploring the human journey.
Hi, Isabel. What's up? How's everybody doing? What's up, Azuria? Malcolm? Tim? Alfred? I'm about to go on this show, Exploring the Human Journey, and talk all about my fun explorations of dying, coming back to life, and being the Jesus Christ of my generation. My name is Mandy Lyttle. I'm the author of You're Not Crazy, You're Just Waking Up. I am a coach, a content creator, online, TikTok, Instagram. I teach inside of this online community, and I teach something called Phase 2. Everything in your experience, you are creating. Every single thing that you have, including physical objects. Every time you walk into that room, you use your energy to materialize that object. Every single time. Phase 2 is essentially the second portion of your life, where all of a sudden you start to awaken from the matrix. I teach people how to use their intuition, which is like the cheat code to life. This whole life hologram that we're living inside is essentially a VR video game. And whether you see it that way or not, why not play it like a game? That's essentially what I teach. And I play tons of card games. I literally am like a little kid. I've just embraced my inner child, and my whole life is playing games and playing, essentially. I'm here to show people that you can do whatever you want in your life. You are consciousness. You are not this avatar that you're playing the game through. But you are here to play a game, so have fun with it.
Life is supposed to be fun.
I think that's the whole point.
It's supposed to be fun. It's a game.
What else would we be here doing?
Oh, I'll tell you what else we would be doing. Taking it so serious.
Oh, yeah.
I have to get it right because
Yeah.
I don't want to mess it up.
Oh my God. And it's so funny that we think that because you make up what's right.
No. Somebody else
No.
makes up what's right because I'm a victim of my society, my
Oh, yeah.
gender, my
Society.
race, where I was born, my religion,
Yeah.
my parents, the
Yeah.
pastor, whoever. I have no responsibility in my life whatsoever. Somebody else tells me what to do. I have no will, agency, or volition in my life. It's miserable. Oh, let me tell you all about it. Oh, let me tell you all of my misery
Oh.
so I can share my
I
victimhood with
already
you.
just feel my whole soul draining out of my body.
Yes. So how does that feel? You're like, oh, this person's going to tell me their life story.
I'd
and
be like,
all
I'm
their
not
sadness.
interested.
Why? My pain is so serious. Why you're not interested in my pain?
Because you're making it up.
Yes. Tell me more.
Why do you want to suffer?
Because that way I can play the victim character.
Okay,
and I
well-
can get you to feel bad for me.
Well, I don't feel bad for you.
Well, then you're not a nice person.
Oh, well, guess what? I don't care about being nice.
I love that. Tell me more.
What does being nice even mean? Like, if you were to give me what your definition of being nice is, just like plain textbook, what's being nice?
Being nice is letting other people stay the way they are and just not ruffling their feathers.
Right. Being nice to me is like caring about other people. Caring about other people is not nice. But most people would say it is nice to care about other people. But what does care mean? To have concern for? Why should I be concerned about you? That's me basically saying, like, I need to worry about you. You're not good on your own. You can't handle your life.
Then maybe you could have some control about it if you had worry and concern.
Control, man.
Well, how many people wring their hands and go, oh, I'm just worried about a family member?
Yeah, it's just a nice distraction away from you.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome to play that game. Everybody can play the game however they want. I just don't play that game anymore.
Tell me more.
Well, I used to play that game of like being so concerned about what other people think, being involved in their journey and their business. But it's funny because it's like, not only does that not help me, right? My whole life that did not help me, but it's also not helping them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I stopped caring and stopped inserting myself into other people's business, it allowed them to like actually just figure their stuff out, have their own journey.
So you didn't decide to coddle them and keep them in that victim state and worry and concern.
Mm-hmm. Because it's funny when you're like, especially with a family member, like I used to concern myself with my parents a lot and their journey. And when you're concerned so much in someone's journey, like they don't care. It's just you that cares. You think they like need you and you think like, oh, I'm like helping them by being like concerned for them and like they really need me. But it's just this like false sense of validation. They don't actually need you. When I stopped caring, it's like, oh yeah, this thing, I just figured it out on my own. This stopped being a problem. I'm good. I don't get calls anymore worrying about stupid things. Seriously.
Okay, I love that. Tell me how you got to that point. That's part of the exploring the human journey I'd love to talk
I
about.
love it. Well, I created a life where I was in the broke world. Okay? And the broke world does not have anything to do with money, but I thought it did. I grew up, we were like, always, you can't do this, you can't do that. Like, for example, my cheerleading outfits in high school were just like a little too expensive. And I was made very aware of that. Okay.
By family members, your parents.
Yes, by my parents. Oh, you know, like this is just wrong that we have to pay for this, blah, blah, blah. Like
It kind of made you feel bad, probably.
Well, it was just like gave me so much ideas of restriction and how limited the world is and how, you know, it's hard to get a good job and you have to save money and you have to be worried about everyone and just the whole gamut.
Yeah.
There could be like infinite stories I could tell you, but basically the whole gist of it was limitation.
Yeah.
And I was just like, why is life such a struggle? I watched my parents just struggle about everything. I went to church.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Oh, yeah. Went to church, was in the church. My mom worked at the church. Like, my dad was a pastor. Whole church journey.
Well,
but
I was a worship leader at a church for many, many
worship
years.
leader! I could see that on you. I could see that for sure.
Hey, kids, let's play music today. Yeah.
I love that. Well, so the church, like, in my experience, my perspective, was just everybody's struggling all the time. Everything sucks and we have to pray to God to save us. And it's just this whole like world of limitation and rules that don't make sense. So many rules. I grew up being like, wait, but okay, what does asking Jesus into your heart mean? Did I do it right?
Yeah.
Am I going to hell? I don't get it.
Yeah, we were always under this like, did I do it right? And then we'd go down to the altar again next week and just make sure.
Just to make sure, I think I need to like repent again.
And then summer camp would come up, we'd run down to the altar again just to make sure. I don't want to mess it up. It's the ultimate existential dread is like, well, what if I get it wrong? What's the consequences? Eternal conscious torment. Forever in hell. It's
already happening.
So do I ever get out? No, it's the worst.
It's like the whole thing you're scared of, the hell. It's already happening. You're experiencing it as you're scared of it.
There you go.
But I just knew something was off. I knew. I always knew. I don't know how long I knew, but at some point I knew. And then from then on, I always knew. I was like, something's wrong here. And so I rebelled against it.
How did you rebel?
Drugs, man. Skipping school.
You go, drugs, man.
Drugs, man. Oh, man. Drugs, alcohol, the whole, like, spectrum. I skipped school. I don't know how I graduated high school. I was barely at school. But I was just like, I'm over this. Well, that was fun and all, right? To escape myself and to explore this, like, rebelling. But it wasn't really actually doing anything for me either until I found my good old friend, psychedelic mushrooms.
Tell me more about this friend of yours.
This is one of my favorite things I put in the game. Because it was like, the first time I took psychedelics, this is so funny that I did this to myself. I was in my friend's room. And she had a copy of, have you read the book 1984?
I know of it. I've read the whole thing.
So it's just a trippy dystopian book that's like about Big Brother and whatever. Basically, that book was like sitting on her shelf. And we started tripping and we're like, okay, what's going on? This is different than weed. Like, I don't know what's going on. But
It
this
is definitely different than weed.
So for whatever reason, we felt compelled to read that book. And so we start reading. I don't even know. We probably read 3 pages of it, but it felt like we had just understood the secrets of the universe.
As one does in
Yeah.
mushroom space, sure.
And so we're like, oh my God, like this whole religion thing is made up. Like it was like, I could not unsee it, that it was made up. I still felt confused and lost. I still felt so confused.
I don't know what the
lost.
right thing is, but this is not it.
This is not it. And I was like, I knew it this whole time. I knew there was something off about this. So that kind of like started the journey for me. That was when I feel like everything kind of cracked. You know, everybody has their moment on the spiritual awakening journey where something cracks, and it doesn't have to be psychedelics. It could be all kinds of things. But for me, it was that. And I was like, all right, now we're on the hunt. Now we're going to figure out, we're going to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Put a pause right there. Because in the spiritual awakening process, there's something, it's like the classic journey where you go out and you're on a pathway and something upsets the apple cart. That's a movie type of mechanism. Something has to upset the apple cart. And so you're going down this religious narrative, you're a young person, and you have an experience that changes the direction you're going. So the first part of spiritual awakening is something happens. And for you, it was psychedelics.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was like, wait a second. I remember going back to my parents' house after this experience, and I was standing there in the hallway, and I was like, wait, my parents are just other people? Like, it occurred to me all of a sudden.
Yeah.
They were just other people, just as confused as me.
Yes. I too had that. I was like, wait, my mom and dad are just kids that grew up. I remember I was 15 years old sitting on the school bus. I go, my parents are just kids that grew up. Oh no, they don't know everything. I thought they did. Yeah. But then I slipped right back into that, and I stayed in that narrative. Well, they probably do. The Bible says the pastor of the church. So I stayed in that my whole life.
Oh yeah. There's tons of stories you can cling on to of like, but wait, it's too scary to believe that I'm really alone out here with no guidance.
Yeah. Yeah, because ultimately nobody knows anything. We're all just making everything up. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you got this realization. What happens next?
But obviously I didn't have that awareness at the time. I just was like, okay, they're just people too.
Yeah.
And then I went on the journey of, all right, let's explore more psychedelics. Let's do Molly. Let's do LSD. All of a sudden I'm going to music festivals. Just totally in the world of like self-expression, exploration. I got married really young too. I got married at 21 at a music festival.
You got married at a music festival?
I did. Yep.
Did you get proposed and then married like it was planned? Or what was that story?
It was semi-planned. Yeah, it was planned.
This is great.
Well, so after the mushrooms, I'll start from the beginning. After the mushrooms, I was like, okay, first of all, don't know who I am, don't know what's going on. We are just opening up a whole new world. So I'm like, maybe I'm gay. So I meet this girl, right, trying on all the different labels, right? So I meet this girl. I'm like, okay, I'm obsessed. Like, you're awesome. We fall in love at a music festival. Get married at the same music festival a year later.
A year later.
I'm 21.
Okay.
I'm like, this is it. Locked in for life. We're good.
Oh, wow.
So we continued on our journey of going to music festivals together, doing drugs, whatever. Moved away from home. We were like...
What state did you grow up in?
Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good old Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
The home of limitation, man.
You betcha. Oh, yeah.
At least that's how I saw it at the time. But we were like, we got to get out of here. I don't know what's going on, but we got to get out of here. So we moved to California, 2,000 miles away.
Did you go to LA to be actresses or to get in the media or entertainment?
She was in a band, so
music,
there's the whole music thing. I was just in my like free spirit era of like, I don't know what's going on, but let's go to the sunshine.
Sounds great.
We were in California for like 3 years, and then divorce.
What happened? Just decided you didn't want to keep...
Time to be done.
Okay. I am complete with this journey.
I could tell you a bunch of stories, but
Yeah.
it's really not necessary. It was
You're just trying to make me feel sorry for you, and I don't care.
I'm not a victim of it. It was freaking time for me to actually be like alone and I discover myself,
okay.
right? Because I got married so young. I was just like, had never really been like on my own as an adult at this moment. And so, you know, I'm cracking open different parts of myself, but I was always like attached at the hip to my ex-wife. And so I got divorced and I'm like, okay, now it's just me. How do I navigate the world? What is going on?
Yeah.
And all of everything that I didn't really want to see about myself started to surface.
Oh, explain.
Well, I immediately like tried to jump into another relationship. That was like just a crutch, and I had actually gotten sober at this point. Throughout my marriage, we just eventually stopped doing all the drugs, drinking, and everything. I had gotten sober, but I was like still addicted to like having another person, validation.
Validation is the biggest one. Yeah.
Not just from like a partner, but from my friends too. My relationships with my friends were like just totally just validation. Like I had a friend that would sit on FaceTime with for like 4 hours. We're not even talking.
Whoa.
Just because we're just being there
just
to
having
be like
somebody there and knowing they were there.
Just to be like, it's okay that you exist. Like that's how I see it now. It was just, and to me it was like this false sense of like closeness, right? Like we're so close. We're just best friends. It's like, no, you can't function in life by yourself.
It's in that codependent cycle of I need others to validate me. Okay.
So there was just like so much going on with this. And then I'm living with roommates. I'm like, do I want to live by myself? I don't know what's going on. I'm working as a massage therapist, working my butt off. I'm totally just exhausted and burnt out.
That's hard physical labor.
Oh, tell me about it. So I got to a point where like everything was just too much. And I was like, I don't know what needs to change. But I'm just over this. I'm over everything that's going on in my life right now. I'm over my roommates. I'm over my friends. I'm over my relationship. I wanted to die. I was like, I'd rather die than keep trying to figure out life by myself.
Yeah, a lot of people get to that point.
I'd rather die.
Yep.
And I had always been really curious about a heroic dose.
Oh.
I had always been so curious about it, but so scared of it. Because I'm like, you might die.
Some people don't know what you mean by that. Please explain.
Yes. A heroic dose of mushrooms is 5 or more grams of dried psychedelic mushrooms alone in total darkness. Ooh-wee. And I had my fair share of experiences, but nothing close to that. And I just had this feeling, right? That inner knowing, that intuition. And I was like, I need to do it. Because you know what? If I die, whatever, I fucking die. I was just done.
Yeah.
I was at my rock bottom point.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's do this. So it was Christmas. I knew nobody would bother me.
Oh my God. You're like, this will be it. Everybody will be doing their things.
Very intentional. Like,
quick question. Yeah. Where are you in relationship to your Christian family at this point?
Well, when I moved away from home years before this, it kind of just was like, okay, like we will still talk every couple months, but I'm not gonna like fly home and visit.
Do they still maintain that same mindset?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's totally still their world. Yeah.
I too share that. I still have family members that they are insistent that I'm doing something incorrect, that I'm leading people astray by even questioning, and I'm in danger of hell. And I'm
in danger of hell.
Demons that are tricking me.
Always
so I still get all that. And it's just like, it's that fear paradigm. Okay. So I understand that. Continue.
Yeah, definitely. The marrying a woman thing kind of threw them off too. So there was that as well.
That was the first clue.
Ooh, well, hell.
Straight. There's no stopping.
Straight to hell.
There's no pause. You go right to hell.
Exactly.
Them gays are going straight to hell first. Yeah.
Immediately hell. Yep. There's no repenting for that one.
Oh my God. Keep going.
So I did it. I'm like, all right, we're gonna make this into a tea.
5
drink
grams.
it. Yes, the 5 grams. I'm sitting in my
Did you
room.
weigh them out to make sure they
Yeah.
were
Oh yeah.
okay?
Yeah. Had it all set up because I was like, I don't want to die,
Mhm.
but still, we always risk the death. Well, I didn't know what death even was at that point, but anyways, take the mushrooms, and I had this theatrical psychedelic performance of my higher self talking to me that
Oh.
I had never experienced anything like before. All of a sudden, I hear my voice. I'm like, hello. So she's telling me, like, you're in a movie, like, you created all of this. This is just a game, etc., etc. And I'm just like, because I'm like, I knew on some level that this was what was happening. But oh my God, you're showing me that, yes. But I'm also like, I'm also on mushrooms. So is this right? Okay.
So I'm tripping balls.
So-
How much can I trust what I'm hearing?
Yeah, exactly.
I got you. I get it.
So I'm like watching this theatrical performance, and part of it that I feel is really necessary to share is that as she's telling me all of this, we get to a crossroads where all of a sudden, like, I really need to go to the bathroom.
As one does on mushrooms. You're like
And I am laying down
Uh-huh.
on the floor of my room on a yoga mat, and she's like, well, nothing is real, so just go right here.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, is this the moment where I like decide if I'm gonna believe that this is actually just a simulation? And so I'm like, all right, screw it. So I did shit myself.
You shit yourself on your yoga mat.
Yes. Yes. And you know how you hear stories about people shitting themselves on mushrooms? Yeah, I'm that person.
Your higher self is an asshole.
Oh, she was just like, you're going all the way right now, or you're done. You need to show me that you're all in, or you're not going to go any farther than this.
Well, your higher self knows that the worst decisions make the best stories.
Exactly. That too. Yeah.
Okay, keep
So
going.
she's like, go. And as soon as I did, everything collapsed, and we were not in my room anymore. It was like, zoop, my whole perception of my body dissolved
Ooh.
in that moment. And it was like Technicolor geometry world.
Mm.
And all of a sudden I was seeing like all of the scenes of my whole life and like a freaking movie script, like film. I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is, but
Yep.
images.
Yep.
It's so hard to explain with words, this experience.
Well, if someone's been there, they understand what you're saying.
Yes. And if they haven't,
They're like, what are you saying?
they'll have to see.
Someone
themselves.
understands what you're saying right now.
So that's happening, right? And I'm going like deeper and deeper into this non-physical world. And eventually everything slows down until it's just my heartbeat.
Oh.
Boom, 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 boom. And then it stops. Nothing. And it's just me. Not this me, but my awareness.
Your
And total darkness.
The I amness.
Yes. And it was just, I've never experienced more stillness.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
I mean, I can't, if you haven't been there, it's like you can't even, your human mind can't comprehend what that is. But the you behind your eyes does know what that is, because that's where you come from.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh my God, it's really all been me this whole time.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good.
It was just like,
so good.
because I'm not even having thoughts
Mhm.
in that moment, but it was just the awareness was there, right? You don't need to think it when you are it. So anyways, from that point, I thought I was dead. I did not think that I was coming back to experience Mandy again. That concept of her even existing was completely gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, where the fuck am I even going from here?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I watch as I literally go, let there be light. Right? Like, there's darkness. Can't experience myself as darkness unless I create light.
Oh. Wow, this is a good trip.
Dude, I'm telling you, it changed my fucking life.
Wow.
So then I'm from there, just fractaling out the entire universe. Like, I literally was experiencing what it's like to be God and create the universe
Yeah.
from myself. And all the way down to Mandy and her whole world of whatever she believes is her
Did you have
reality.
an experience of making or creating this
Yes.
experience? Explain.
Like I was literally, I could feel myself choosing each detail about my life and feeding the story with my energy and being like, we'll pick that one, we'll pick that one, we'll pick that one. And the funny part was, well, the funny part, it's all funny, was I picked every detail the exact same as it was when I started the trip. And it gave me appreciation for my life for the first time. I was like, oh my God, all these things I was so pissed about. I hated my life. I was so mad. I was so upset with all of this. I chose it. I handpicked every single detail about my whole experience. Yeah. None of it wasn't thought out and planned to be exactly what it was. And so when I came back to myself, and I'm laying in a pile of my shit, by the way, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wait, I didn't die, but I did die and came back. I don't know. And I'm just like, crap. So I get up and I'm like, oh shit. So I'm cleaning up shit, right?
Oh my.
I get the shit cleaned up and I'm showered off and everything, right? That whole thing was a trip too. But then I sit down and I'm sitting there and I'm just crying my eyes out. Oh. Tears of appreciation. Sitting in my room in the dark still, because I'm still having like Technicolor visions, but I'm in my room now. And I'm just like, whoa, I love my roommates. I love this house. I love like all of the fights we get in. Like I could see for the first time in my life that all these things I thought were problems and so annoying and irritating were just giving me experiences that I couldn't have if I didn't have the whole video game.
Yeah. So now you have gratitude and appreciation.
Like nothing I had felt like gratitude before, but not like that.
But now you're like, I love you guys.
Like I literally did all of this to just play with myself. This is insane. And it's so realistic. I kept saying that to myself. I'm like, this is so realistic.
Oh my God, that is the funniest.
So
that's a common thing is when you're on mushrooms, just look at your hand and go, oh my God, look at that. And people will just sit there and stare at their hand. They're like, look at this thing.
It's so real.
It's so realistic. I did really good. I love that.
Yeah. So that was a beautiful experience. Totally just, I can't unsee that. I couldn't unsee it.
Cannot. When you have a conscious experience and people are like, that wasn't real, you're like, no, I can't unsee that. The feeling that you have, the awareness that you have. Yeah, I have had that experience in ayahuasca.
Yeah.
And ayahuasca came to me and she said, I'm going to fix you. I'm going to fix you. And I've done 12 ceremonies. This is one of the middle ceremonies. Okay. I'd done a bunch of other things. And so I'm like, ayahuasca, I have a whole bunch of questions. She goes, I'm going to fix you. I'm going to fix you. I'm like, okay, so take the plant medicine. Ayahuasca tastes like molasses mixed with mud. It's not something you would like be able to get addicted to. It's not, you can't.
Interesting.
Bruh. And I take the medicine. And then I see an image of ayahuasca with like a doctor's mask on and like a surgical mask. This is pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And she's in the background and she just kind of disappears. And I'm like, well, I thought you were going to, give me some answers, help me do some stuff. She goes, you'll have to wait till the second pour. Because then you feel the DMT medicine and it kind of, your body metabolizes, kind of wears off. So, okay. And so the facilitator said, hey, you can have another pour. I'm like, yeah. I was literally the first one up there. I'm like, let's go.
I'm ready.
Come on. Ayahuasca's going to fix me. Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay, sit back down. Feel the medicine. Okay, I'm back in that space. I'm starting to get the images, getting the information. And I see her again with this mask on, but she's like off in the distance. She goes, wait. I'm like, what are you doing? And I kind of get mad. I'm like, kind of like, F you. Fuck you, ayahuasca. What are you doing? And I kind of hear her giggle. She says, where are you? And I'm like, oh, and I see jail bars right in front of me. And I'm like, oh no, I'm in a prison. And then I have my hands and I'm holding jail bars with my face pressed up. And I'm like, oh no, I'm in a prison. I'm like, did you trick me here to put me in a prison? And she goes, stretch out your hands. What? Stretch out your hands. I stretch out my hands. Again, for the viewer, my eyes are closed this whole time.
Right.
You know, these are images. Stretch out my hands, and I'm holding a cardboard cutout of 2 jail bars made out of cardboard.
That's hilarious.
And I'm like, oh, you're a dick, ayahuasca. I get it. I'm being held in a prison of my own thoughts. And I hear my voice go, that's right. I'm like, wait, where's ayahuasca? And I hear my voice go, there is no ayahuasca. It's just you. It's just us. It's just me. And I'm like, wait, what? So I'm looking for the answer for somebody outside to give me, just like the Christian prays to God to bring it back. Just like whomever prays to whatever, the politician or the scientist or whatever. I need the answer outside. Yes, curiosity and wonder are important. There are things to be searched and discovered. And the answers are also within. Both of these can exist at the same time. So I'm like, okay. So I'm looking for answers outside of myself. The answers are within. Okay. So now what do I do? And I hear my voice say, learn to trust your intuition. It will tell you the truth. And I was like, okay. Because that's one thing I never learned with a religious narrative, that Christian narrative. You cannot trust your feelings because that's how the devil tricks you.
Exactly.
You had the same one. All right.
The devil will lead you into temptation.
Temptation.
And then you'll go to hell.
Then you'll go to hell. It's the worst thing ever. Especially if you like somebody of the same sex you are. You'll definitely.
Yes.
So anyway, so that was my ayahuasca thing. And here's the cool part about this. This is the part that blew me away at the very end. So the medicine's coming down, and I'm like, kind of disappointed because I thought ayahuasca was like a real thing, and it was like I could take the medicine and I'd get information. Because before this, I had powerful information I had never heard before. I've told this story many times, but the very first ayahuasca ceremony I had was enjoy the ride. And I heard this other voice saying, that's what you're here to do. And I go, I can't enjoy the ride. I'm not enjoying the ride. And I see beliefs written. It said, it's because what you believe becomes real. I'm like, oh. And so that started me on this journey of undoing the belief system I had.
Okay, yeah.
So now I'm here and, you know, a couple of years later in a new ceremony thinking, wow, maybe none of this was real. Maybe it was all me. And I'm kind of starting to get disillusioned. And I feel ayahuasca put this female arm around me and she goes, I'm still here. And I was like, okay, I'm a little confused. So is it me or is it you? And she goes, it's us. We're all here. It's us doing this. It's you and me and you and it's us. It's a unity consciousness. And I was like, all right, I'm good. Medicine's up. I'm time to get something to eat. Got a lot to think about. So I tell that story because it's a fun space for people to know you can thin the veil. That's what I like to say psychedelics do.
Oh, yeah.
Hypnotherapy, psychedelics for me have gotten me to that place where I can get in touch with that. Intuition, the answers are within.
Oh, yeah.
So pick it back up. So you've had this incredible experience. You get yourself cleaned up. Now what do you do?
Well, that's the question, right? Because we, like you said with ayahuasca, you're like, you're going to fix me, right? That was my thought, was
Mushrooms
this is going to fix
fix
my
me.
life, right? Which is what a lot of people think
Yeah.
when they go on that journey. This is going to fix me. It's going to give me all the answers. Okay, so I've seen the behind the frickin' veil all the way back. We've peeled everything back. We're fully back. But then I'm in my room. I'm having all this appreciation, right? I go to sleep. I wake up the next day and I'm like, not feeling as much appreciation. Because
So
I'm
funny.
like, oh, we're kind of back in the bullshit, right?
Yeah.
So what do I do now? Am I supposed to go to work? Like, I'm just like, yo, I don't get it. Okay, I see.
Okay, it's all a game and a joke, so
So
I have to go to work?
Do I go to work or not?
Go to work.
Is my bills gonna get paid? I don't know what's going on. So I'm just like, okay, I thought that would make me feel less lost. I'm almost more lost now.
Oh, yeah, I want to get to that. Keep going.
So I'm like, within that same exact week, somebody who I had been following on social media, right? I had been reading all the books. I had been following all the people, always searching for answers up till this point, right? So
Mhm.
I had been following Sam. And here and there I had like watched her journey a little bit, but I wasn't like completely invested.
So for those that don't know who Sam is, tell the viewer who Sam
Well,
is.
Sam is now like my best friend, business partner. We work together. We teach online together. We have this community together.
And at that time, Sam was someone that was an influencer and had media that you were
That I
consuming.
was consuming, right? So I was a follower at this point. And that same week, I think it was a couple days after this experience, I had saw a piece of content that she made, and she said, "You created me to tell you this." And those words I hadn't heard from anyone else, and I was like, "Oh, oh my gosh. Okay, I created like someone to validate that to me because I still kind of had the hint of like, was that just a hallucination?
I was tripping
I
balls. It
don't
couldn't be real.
know, like,
Yeah.
because it felt like the realest thing I've
Yeah.
ever felt, but I don't fully know.
Yeah.
And so
I like to tell people it's like when you have a really good dream and you come out of it and you go, oh, and then you're like, oh, well, it was just a dream, and it starts to
Yeah.
wear off. And then later
Right.
you forget. That's what those states can be like. Yeah.
yeah, totally. And so when I saw that, I was like, she said, "You created me." So it was like she was calling out the you that's not Dave. I was like,
And you're,
nobody's ever talked to me before. The
Yeah.
me back here, that's not Mandy.
yeah.
And so I was just like, okay, I'm in. Like, what's going on? And she's talking about phase 2. And I was like, and talking about your intuition. See, my trip didn't tell me anything about intuition. So I was still left with this, like, what's going on? So when she's talking about this, she's like, you just have to feel your feelings. And I'm like, oh my God, during my trip, I used my feelings to create everything in my, it like started to connect the dots. And I was like, wait, so it's all about feelings. Okay. So I just went head first. I was like, I'm going to read your books. I read Quantum Networking. Oh my God. That locked it in for me. I joined the community. I started feeling my feelings. I sat with myself with no distractions for the first time in my life.
Oh, beautiful.
Ever. I had never like actually meditated without like something in my ears.
Mm.
So I sat there. I'm like, oh, I exist. This is trippy.
Mm. Yeah.
And so I start feeling my feelings, and I started, like, a specific example is that I lived in this house with a bunch of roommates, and I talk about this in my book actually too. I lived in this house with a bunch of roommates, and it was trashed. Okay, there was like all of these parts of the house that were like damaged, and the carpet was burned, and like all kinds of stuff. And so I was about to move out, and I was the name on the lease.
Oh, boy.
And I was like broke at the time. Well, at least that's how I saw myself.
Mm.
And so I'm like, oh no, I can't pay for all this. Like, it's going to be so expensive. That was like one of the running stories that had like a death grip on
Yeah.
me. I was so scared to move out
Yeah.
on my own for the first time, all this. So I had all these feelings about it. And I was learning about phase 2. And I'm like, okay, so this experience is happening because it's giving me feelings. That's it. Okay, so if I just let myself feel all the feelings, maybe it doesn't have to be this dramatic thing. So I laid there, and for the first time in my life, I just let myself play out every worst case scenario of
Oh,
what could happen.
yeah.
And I felt all the feelings. I was just so much energy. I was like sweating. I was crying. I was freaking out. I was like, what if I lose all my money? I have to move home to Minnesota, like blah, blah, blah. And I just let it all run.
Yep.
Then I moved out and got my full security deposit back. Like, there was no damage in the house at all.
What? How'd you do that? Wow.
She came over, looked, she's like, house looks fine. We're good. Here's your money.
Bye.
And
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
this shit works.
It works.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck. This
Yeah.
is insane. So then I was like, everything can change. And
Yeah.
I was like, I don't like my job. I'm quitting my job. I don't know what's going to happen. Quit my job. I was feeling my feelings. I went to their retreat.
Mm.
So we host retreats. That's
Mm.
something that we do. And the first one that they had, I was like, I'm going. I don't know what you guys are teaching works, so I'm going. I'm in. And when I went to the retreat, that's how I met them in person, and then everything unfolded from there. They taught me how to use my intuition, and I joined the team, and
Yeah.
everything changed for me, like, overnight. Because it was just like all of a sudden I could feel what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I could feel where to go. I could feel what decisions to make. I could feel my way through things in my life, and it wasn't such a problem anymore. And everybody has that.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has access to that.
Yeah.
You just have to be willing to give up your suffering journey.
Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing about the human journey. Is we love the victim, we love the suffering, we love the poor me. Here's my story.
Yeah.
What do you tell people about that?
Well, I tell them that you cannot experience one thing without its opposite. So your consciousness, right? You're this unlimited being that's like, I can do whatever I want. Well, how could you experience your unlimitedness if you didn't first experience what it's like to be limited?
Mm-hmm.
So that's phase 1 of the game.
Yes. Yes.
Let me start off as a baby that knows nothing and put all these other people into my simulation to give me these beliefs about how limiting the world is and how everything is such a struggle and so hard and religion and et cetera, et cetera. But then once I'm sufficiently limited to the point where I'm like, this sucks, then I'll crack the simulation a little. I'll jiggle the plugs loose from the matrix.
Yes. Yes.
I'll insert something into the story that'll be like, wait, is this again? And then that starts the journey of phase 2, which is the awakening to who you really are.
Yeah. So you have a book title that I loved. You're not crazy.
Yeah.
You're just waking up.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Well, it was the book that I wanted for myself when this happened.
Yes.
Like when I had this whole insane experience and then I'm sitting there in my room the next day going, do I still go to work? Like I just was like, I'm crazy. People are not going to believe me. They're not going to understand what I'm saying. People. I just was like, I've surrounded myself with all reflections of my victimhood for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody that I use to validate my experience is going to validate this one.
Yeah.
So is it just me? And that's why I wrote the book. I wrote the book from the perspective of I am writing a book to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Which, who else could I be writing it to,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, hey, reader, it's you talking to you, essentially.
Brilliant.
What's up? You got to this point.
Yeah, you
where
wanted
you
me.
can talk to yourself.
You created
now.
me to write to you,
Yes.
so you could talk to yourself.
Exactly.
You tricked yourself into this.
Yes.
This is super cool.
So good. And the whole book is just basically me sharing my experience and then being like, hey, okay, so now that you've had this experience, this awakening, here's what you do. Here's how to follow your intuition. Here's how to even contact it in the first place. Here's where to get started. Here's how to like take that a little deeper and learn how to validate your own experience. Because inevitably everybody gets to this point where you have to become okay with being crazy.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yes. Yeah.
You have to be like, okay, maybe I am. All right, fine. Because if you're fighting against it forever, you'll just be fighting against it forever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not crazy, I swear.
Yeah.
I swear.
Because what you resist persists, so it'll stay there.
It's just like any other experience. It's just an experience you get to have.
Mm-hmm.
You get to have the experience of being crazy.
I love that perspective. If the world is simply about you're here to have experiences, it takes the pressure off of everything. I've got to get it right.
Oh, yeah.
That is a deep meditation space I've recently been in where these are just experiences, and the things that you think are bad that you went through, it's just an experience. My son Tyler died at 27 of a drug overdose, and it made me sad, and it's an experience, and it's good to have sadness. Now I know what that's like. I understand what grief is like, and I get to choose to continue my journey. He chose to complete his. I'll see him in another space, another time. That other aspect of the one thing that is all of us, that is me and him, individuated into
He's you.
essences, and we'll reunite and we'll have that conversation. Yeah, these are experiences, and if I could tell David of 2015 when I began to unravel this mystery, that's what you're here to do, is have experiences, and that's a powerful revelation. Because too many times we're told you have to get it right, especially the religious narrative, eternal consequences, or even in just a non-religious narrative. Well, you've got to make a lot of money. You have to. You can have a really nice house, really nice car, 2.5 kids with a white picket fence.
Yeah.
And then
Then
retirement
you'll be
account.
good.
Yeah. And then they surveyed millionaires and billionaires, and they go, how much money would it take to be happy? Mind you, some of these are billionaires, and they go, oh, 2 to 3 times more than what I have now. Then I'll be happy. Whatever level they were at. And I was like, it's not what it's about. So you're here to have experiences.
Yeah. And the game that I was playing for a long time was the money game. Oh my God, I have to make money. Oh my gosh, I have to have a certain amount, like you said. Oh, once I get to this amount, it's funny because everybody has this, right? Where they go, if I get to this certain amount, then I'll be good.
Yeah.
But then you ask them what that amount is, and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know, because it's made up.
Yeah.
There is no number that would be sufficient.
Yeah.
To finally be like, oh, I'll enjoy my life
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And there's actually a book where we got the term phase 2 from, which is called Busting Loose from the Money Game by Robert Scheinfeld. And he talks about all of the stuff that we talk about. We just used the name. It was perfect. So it's all about how, like, once you actually let go of playing the money game, you always have all the money you need for everything.
Yeah.
You always do. But if you're not chasing money, then what are you doing? That's where your intuition comes in. That's where it comes in. Because if you're playing the money game, you're not playing the intuition game. They're 2 separate games.
Yeah.
So when you're freaking out about money, where's all your feelings going? Money, or the lack of it, or the pursuit of it, or the need to keep what you have, or whatever. There's so many stories we could make up to sit there and play it.
A lot of us amass wealth, so then we have to spend all of our resources protecting it.
Yeah, I got to keep it at all costs in case something happens.
That's right. It'll be my safety and my security. Sure it will.
Yes, I mean, safety and security is really what everyone's looking for.
Yes, make me safe and secure. Yes.
Get me back in the womb.
Safety and security is what religion provided for me. I was safe, I was secure, I had certainty, and I was a little bit superior because I had the truth.
Yeah, because I know the way. You're going to hell, so
it's an intoxicating system of belief.
At least I'm going to heaven.
At least I'm going to heaven.
At least I'll be good once I'm over this horrible life.
And I spent a lot of my time figuring out how do I get out of here and get to heaven, because it's going to be better there.
It's gonna be way better there.
Then I had a realization, this is where the action is. I came here because this is where the action is. I wanted to play in this realm. So going there isn't going to solve the problem. It's going to be like, oh, well, there's things you wanted to do. Now you can't do them because you're not here. Oh, this is where the action is.
You'll be right back here playing again.
I think that's what we do. We get over there and go, oh, let's go back to there. And then we get here and go, what was I thinking?
Yeah. Well, that whole like idea that being here is suffering is BS. Because you can just decide, okay, I'm done with that. Even an experience like pain, like physical pain, right? You can have that experience and not suffer. You can have that experience and allow yourself to experience the physical feelings of pain from a different perspective.
Ooh, tell me more about that.
Well, I'll give you an example. So a thing that a lot of women deal with is period cramps, right? And it's like this just dying, like knives in my stomach, so much pain. It used to have me curled up like in my shower on the floor, just crying.
Wow.
Every month. So dramatic, I know. I love it. And
it's part of the journey.
Part of the journey.
It's part of it.
But when I started learning about phase 2, I was like, okay, so this is just an experience like everything else, right? So I got period cramps and I'm starting to get pissed, right? I'm like, ugh, gotta get some ibuprofen. This is gonna be shitty. I'm gonna be in the bath. But I'm like, wait, I could just let myself have the experience. That would be different. So I'm laying there in bed and I'm like, okay, let me just focus on the feeling. I just focus on it. So I bring my attention, all of it, to the pain, which is what most of us do not do. We just avoid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, nope, I'm going to focus right on it. And as I'm there, I'm just literally focusing on the feeling. That's all I'm doing. Nothing else is happening. I'm just focusing on the feeling. It changes. And all of a sudden, it's not pain anymore. It's like pleasant. Almost like pleasure, almost like orgasmic. And it's just like this energy radiating from my body. And so I'm laying in bed, like about to go to sleep as this is happening. And so I'm just laying there vibing out with the feeling. And it's not pain anymore. And it literally like lulled me to sleep. And I woke up the next day and I'm like, what? This is what's possible when you allow yourself to focus on the feelings. The way that I like to explain it a lot of times when I'm teaching is like, what makes this real? But think of this cup in your mind. Okay, so what's the difference between that thought and this?
That has physical tangibility that I can touch.
Right, you feel it. That's it.
Ding, ding, ding. Dave gets lessons.
Well, everybody gets lessons around here. But that's it. That's the only thing that makes something different from your imagination to reality is feelings. You feel it. Even your sight, your smell, your taste, and your sound are all different variations of feelings. So what really else is there happening?
That's fascinating.
It's all feelings.
So you're feeling it. You're feeling it. It's becoming real. You let that feeling move through you, and it doesn't have to have suffering attached to it. It can just be a feeling.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's everything in life. Every experience that you have is just there for a feeling, and we tell stories about what the feelings mean. And if you can watch your thoughts and feel your feelings, you don't have to become a victim to the stories and the feelings. You can just experience it and move on.
Yeah.
With and it's that just, to me, that simplifies life to a point where it's like, okay, that safety and security that I'm looking for, what better safety and security do I have than me? If I know that any experience that I have is simply just an experience so that I get to have feelings, I can handle anything.
That's really good. Okay, so somebody is sitting here going, okay, I get it, your feelings. Okay, I've never heard that before, but that's an interesting idea. Okay, I'll think about that. I've never been able to understand my intuition, my inner knowing, my inner guidance. What would I do, Mandy, to do that? Do you have some things that you would help people?
Yeah. The thing that is going to help the most out of anything is sitting with yourself with no distractions. That's it. Like any other technique, there's tons of helpful things you can do to get in touch with your intuition. I'll name some more, but none of them will matter unless you are able to sit with yourself. It just won't.
And give me an example of what it means to sit with yourself.
Like literally set a timer on your phone, put your phone in the other room or far away from you, and just sit there and exist. This is not some fancy meditation technique or like you need to focus on your breathing or you need to focus on anything. No, just become okay with setting aside a chunk of time to just purely exist and do nothing. It's like the one thing that everyone avoids is just being there.
Yeah. Especially in this society where we need to be entertained and have things in social media. It's all coming at us constantly.
So for me now, that looks like literally I mean, you saw me doing it. I do it in the middle of the day all the time. I do something, then I go sit. I just let myself exist. Notice my thoughts. How am I feeling? What am I thinking about? Because your intuition is you. It's just you. It's always there. But when you don't pay any attention to you, because you're always paying attention out here, how are you ever going to hear your intuition?
Yeah. You gave an example at a business meeting where I saw you at, and you talked about your intuition. You had a very short period of time.
Yeah.
But you talked about the feeling and how does it make you feel? Does it bring you in or does it bring you out? Explain. Tell the people
Yeah.
that.
So you've had this experience many times in your life. Many, many, many times. Where all of a sudden you go in a room, you get a bad feeling about something. You're like, oof, nope. I don't know what it is, but there's something off here. Or you meet somebody and you're like, I don't know why, but I need to talk to them. I love them for some reason. You don't have a reason. Your intuition doesn't have reasons. It's a feeling. So you've had that experience. Well, but to you, maybe up until this point, it's felt like that was kind of random, or you just get it once in a while, or it's like fleeting, but it's actually always there in every moment. So a way that you can start connecting to your intuition is by asking it, what does a yes feel like? Just yes and no, simple. And pay attention to the way it feels in your body. That feeling, you could describe it however you want. You could use a million different words, but that feeling of yes, then when you ask, what does no feel like? There's a difference. And you will feel it in your body. You won't be able to make sense of it. There's no logical story behind it, but you can feel yes and you can feel no. If you can't, sit with yourself.
Sit with yourself until you get that.
Until you can let your thoughts just hang out and go away to the point where you can feel it. And that's like the first step of connecting to your intuition, because then in any moment, that clarity that you're searching for outside of yourself, you don't have to do that anymore. You can sit there and go, is this a yes?
Mm-hmm.
And you can feel it. It's like that moment of intuitive guidance that's like, oh, don't go in that room. But like on command, intentionally connecting to that. Rather than just, oh, it saved me from something.
Yeah.
Which it still will.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear many stories of an impending situation that could cause harm, and they're like, oh, my intuition said don't do it. And then we get stuck in the mindset, like, that's the only time the intuition's there is to save you from something horrible.
Yeah.
But it's also there to inform everything. How do you feel? How's the feeling of it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because we take it back to everything's all feelings at the end of the day. Why are you doing things that don't feel good?
Well, part of my religious programming is to be a good boy.
Oh, yeah.
And so if I do something I don't want to do, but it helps the other person, then I'm a good boy. But then the whole time I'm like, I wish I wasn't doing this. And then I'm just mad. And then I'm resenting this situation. It might, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Somebody might ask me, "What can you help me do something?" And I'm like, "Oh, I had other plans, but okay, I'll help you do that. Whatever it
I'm
is."
supposed to,
Yeah,
for some reason.
And then the whole time,
making it up.
it doesn't feel good. And then maybe the other person, let's say they were going to move something, they wanted to move that, and I show up and there's 10 other people. Oh, yeah, we don't really need you here, but since you're here, and you're like, okay, because I was going to do something else. I wanted to, whatever that trite example is, but it's more about aligning the attunement of how your feeling is, because if you're feeling good, it's going to radiate outward.
And when you focus on you and what feels good for you, you also give the other yous permission to do that too. Because if you think about it, we don't learn by someone teaching us. We learn by watching people. Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
That's how. So if you're around somebody and they're just always following their excitement and their feelings and doing what feels good for them and saying no to things and being like direct and honest, you're going to be like, oh, like maybe I could do that too. That would be nice if I could just say no because I don't want to do that.
Yeah, we all love to watch somebody doing something they're so happy about doing. Their joy space.
Yes.
The person that's a singer that just loves it, or a drummer that just loves it, whatever that thing is. The painter. Maybe those are art examples, but the people that loved it. I mean, you could be a commercial real estate investor and you just love commercial real estate. Well, we love to work with people that love what they do.
Yes.
So when I met you, you had the smile, which you're carrying right now. What is it that you're doing in the world? How do people learn about you? What is it you have as an offering to help the other yous in this world continue to move forward?
Well, I just spread the word that oh my god, I spread the word that you don't have to suffer. This is a game. You
Yeah.
can have fun, and the way that I teach it is through what's called phase 2. And we have an online platform. I do social media, I do TikTok, I do Instagram. I teach and coach people who want somebody to guide them through this awakening process. Somebody who's gonna hold your hand and be like, yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I was fucking thought I was crazy too. I got you covered. I know exactly what you need to do.
Yeah. I shit myself, I know.
Yeah, I know. I've been around.
hmm
I died and came back to life. I'm the living Jesus Christ.
That was a revelation you had.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, because it was like, I've had so many revelations about the Bible.
Huh?
Don't even get me started. But
Oh.
the Jesus thing, Jesus had an ego death. He died and came back. He died, his ego death, though, if we're following the story of the Bible, right? The story that we wrote and we put there for ourselves.
We did, to inform ourselves.
To inform ourselves. He was in pain because he was being hung, right? He's being crucified, whatever. So for him, his awakening was pain. All of a sudden, the feelings of pain became so much that he collapsed the simulation on himself. He created, you don't need psychedelics to have that kind of experience. It could be something else. Because at the end of the day, the psychedelic is still you. You put the power into it to give you that experience. So it could be anything. But for Jesus, it was that. He died. We can't die. Your ego, this can die, but you, behind those eyes, can't die.
There's no death.
There is no death.
Transition states.
But I didn't know that until I experienced it myself, where Mandy was dead. People say like, oh, you had that near-death experience. I'm like, no, to me it was a death experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the whole story was Jesus was like, y'all, I'm trying to tell you, you're God too. Hello? Like, it's not just me. I'm not special. Jesus never said, follow me. He said, do what I do. But people took it as, you're God. You are powerful. You're outside of me. You have all the answers. And he's like, no, it's in you, man.
Yes. We love other people to tell us the answers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like the whole interpretation of the Bible can be taken two completely different ways. If you read the Bible from the perspective of your God, it tells you everything you need to know about yourself.
So good.
In the beginning, I said, let there be light.
Yeah. Wow. What do you think this whole consciousness experiencing itself is about? Is it this one thing thinging itself for the purpose of entertainment? Is it for the purpose of curiosity? If it knows all things and is all the characters in the dream, is the purpose to have a game? Is the purpose play? Is the purpose I'm bored and I'm entertaining myself? Is the purpose to grow? What do you think the purpose is?
All of them.
Okay.
Because from every different perspective, you get to experience all those things you just said. The whole purpose is to have experiences. Like, have you ever heard the phrase, anything you can think of is real?
I don't know. Tell me more.
Okay, well, like, we're making all this up, right? You can imagine something, and I'm sure you've had this experience where you imagine an experience you want to have and then it happens. You're a creator, right? So you created this today. You imagined this before it was happening.
I didn't imagine exactly everything that was happening here, but I imagined we would have a conversation.
Yes. So just something as simple as that, right? You thought this was a thought before it happened. You were like, oh, that would be cool to interview her. We'll do this. You imagined it.
Part of
and
the
then it
mystery is
became
I
reality.
didn't know what would happen. And so that's part of the entertainment value.
Right.
I imagine we're going to have a conversation, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Mhm.
Which is exactly why you designed this game, to convince yourself that you don't know what's happening. So that you could be so immersed in the game that you don't realize that you're
Mhm.
tricking yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be played out in an infinite number of ways. I mean, you're eternal.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's a revelation, another ayahuasca ceremony where I said, "What's this about ayahuasca?" And she says, "Play." I go, "What about all the horrible, horrific things that happen? Children being raped and mutilated, whatever
Yeah.
the worst thing is." She goes, "Yeah, you do that so it makes you realize how real it is, so you stay in the game. All these horrible, horrific things."
Yeah.
I'm like, "These are horrible." She goes,
Yeah.
"Yeah, that makes you stay in the game. This is
Yeah.
really bad."
Yeah,
It's like,
this is
oh,
real.
oh,
Really bad.
oh, but what if those are just experiences? There's things
Yeah.
I don't want to experience. I don't want to experience,
Right.
there's a level of suffering I do not want to experience.
Right.
Just because it's not comfortable.
Right.
And yet I look at my life and I'm like, oh, bankruptcy and divorce and this death of a son and like,
Right.
oh, there's
you
a lot
gave
of things
yourself
I've
a whole buffet.
Huh. I have experienced quite a few things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But imagine if you're there for eternity with yourself. Would you maybe eventually want to experience being a child getting raped and mutilated?
That is Alan Watts to the T. He's like, you're God, and how many tea parties can you go to until you're like, I'm bored with this. Let's do something. Let's play war. Let's play
Exactly.
mutilation. Let's lose limbs. And you
Exactly.
go down the dark spiral. Then you're like, let's be angels. Let's be unicorns over
Yeah.
rainbows. So you want it
You're
all.
everything and
Yeah.
you can do anything, so but that's
Yeah.
that's the hook, right? Like that's the sticking point for a lot of people.
So then, what is the purpose of staying embodied in this incarnate human form? Why do I not then just kill myself and go to the other side? Why do I stay here?
Because you want to be here,
Okay.
having your
What
experience.
do you say to some people who are like, I don't want to be here? Maybe you've experienced that
Yeah.
before. You're aware and awake that I'm creating this game, and there's a level of a story that you're letting yourself live in where there's pain and suffering. Maybe you've got some sort of an incurable disease. Maybe you
Right.
have loved ones and they're all passed, and maybe you're 78 years old and you're just like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who's like, I don't want to do this anymore? I'm ready to die.
Die.
Okay, it's fucking die.
You can't die.
You can't die.
So in that,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is like we all have a choice. If you don't want to play the game, don't play it anymore.
Mm.
You'll realize once you die that, oh yeah, I actually do want to go back and play again.
Yeah.
But you can't save anyone from their experience. There's nothing to be saved from.
Yeah. I was talking to my friend Michelle Claire, and she goes, we can all kill ourselves at any time. Telling somebody suicide prevention, don't kill yourself.
Yeah.
Well, we can all. That's available to all of us. So, she says she chooses to be here because she's like, well, I'm not done. I'm still playing my character.
Well, what's funny too is that that's kind of a point where you can break someone loose. Like for me, I wanted to kill myself when I broke myself loose. But to say that there's anything about your experience that you don't actually want to be there, that you don't want to be happening, I want to kill myself, I don't want to be here, you're lying. You're lying. So when somebody says that, well, I just want to die, I'm just over it, and you go, okay, then kill yourself. You call them on their bluff. And that can be a moment where people are like, wait, for once, someone didn't buy into my story of, oh, well, poor me, I want to kill myself, I'm a victim.
Yep.
For once, someone went, all right, fine, then kill yourself. And they're like, wait, what? I'm serious.
Yeah. Yeah, your compassion is overwhelming.
I love that. Well, it's like, You're playing dumb.
And what I love about that is you're just playing a story. You're playing a victim. You're playing I'm not happy. You're playing something that you wanted to experience.
Yeah.
So all that pain and suffering is something you have chosen to experience. And what if they say, well, I was raped and molested as a child. I didn't choose that. What do you tell that person?
Are you still a child right now?
Mm.
Is it happening to you right now?
Mm-hmm.
You're choosing to still allow that story to dictate the way you experience this moment right now.
Mm.
You could just stop telling the story.
What do you say to people that hold on to these traumatic experiences that have happened in their lives?
That exactly what I just said. You can let it go. You're just choosing not to. You're choosing to continue to keep the story alive by retelling it every single time.
Yeah.
You have a choice.
And so how do you move forward in a positive, happy, wonderful space?
Allow yourself to feel your feelings,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what's keeping the story alive. When you tell that story of I got molested as a child, you feel something about that. You go, ugh. You feel things connected to that story that you haven't ever felt through because you've been distracted running away from yourself your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So if you sit there with no distractions, again, and allow yourself to feel your feelings, you will eventually be like, okay, yeah, I'm done with that story.
Yeah.
Just like a kid. Every story that we tell, every victim story that we're like, oh, well, this is my life. When you see a kid playing with toys, if a kid gets done playing with a toy, what do? They're just like, drop it, on to the next.
Pick up your toys.
That's how we are with everything in life.
Yeah.
You have to be bored of that experience to let it go. The feelings have to be gone. It's not exciting anymore. It's not, oh, this is tough. This is my life story of sorrow. Oh.
I love it. Yeah. Holding that energy of victimhood or letting that go and holding that energy of what am I here to create? What am I here to experience? What am I here to do with this physical form?
Even if you took it from the perspective of that you didn't choose that experience, right? Let's say that, yes, this just happened to me and I didn't have a say in it. Well, you still get to decide that it's not happening to you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's freedom that people don't realize they have a choice of. They don't realize that you get to choose to stop living in that past moment that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's the sticking point for a lot of people, is those experiences that seem just a little too bad, that no, there's no way that I could have created that.
Yeah.
And it's like, then you just are like, oh, yeah, I can see that I'm creating this, but not that.
Mm-hmm.
And that limits you and keeps you in one.
You know what I'm
spot.
so happy about? You see that person right there? They created you and me to have this conversation to talk to themselves.
Yes, they did.
I love that. You're awesome.
Amazing.
Do you have a website you want people to go to find out more information about you?
People can find me on TikTok and Instagram at mandy.on.earth.
Got it.
Boom.
As we close, if there's one thing out of all the stuff we talked about today you want people to remember and to walk away with, what is that one thing for you want people to get?
That your life can be fun.
Brilliant.
Your life can be fun.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm so glad I created you to have this conversation today.
Yeah,
High five. And to you, my friend, I say namaste.
Oh, namaste.
Thanks for joining us here on Exploring the Human Journey. For more information, go to the website at exploringthehumanjourney.com.